think we should be able to be online now. Should be online. How can I check that? 1 second. Yeah, we are online.
Okay,
Yeah.
so hello everyone. Thanks for joining. Let's quickly begin. Uh, Hope you are doing well. I know we are going in with challenging times, and even I was sick a few days back, though I tested negative, but still, there is a bit of, I would say, sickness still recovering. So if I may not be able to speak that loud as I was maybe in previous sessions. So please bear with me. I'll try to speak as clear and as loud as possible. So thanks, for you for having time in this afternoon. And I know it's not easy considering all the situations around, but it's like a good refreshing uh, from what is happening, so that you feel a little bit different than usual news is. So at the same time, you will also kind of learn something, right? So it's like a little bit changing the mood, and in this process, learn something. Okay, so today we'll be talking. It is a 30-minute talk, so may not have lot many details, but we'll try to make as much as we can in this time. Feel free to reach out later as well in case you have any questions and we didn't get time to clarify that. So, a little bit about me in case folks who are hearing my name first time. Uh, I'm playing a role of IT manager in one of the company. Also, kind of hold little bit, I would say, tags called MVPs from Microsoft and C Corner. Uh, like blogging, though a little bit slower this time, these times, and I like to speak as well on different meetups, conferences. At the same time, also like to, mentors people who kind of approach me for kind of some advice, career advice, or kind of, growth advice and things like that. Part of this, this what you call meetups group, along with Swami and few others, on planning and how we can have sessions, and also I lead this Hyderabad chapter. Apart from technology, things that interest me are music, uh, like music, and also sometimes also sing. Though not a great singer, but try to attempt. Uh, Likes natural places, visiting waters, mountains, and all green around, and also spirituality. I do have a blog. You can look at yourself and the Twitter account. Without wasting more time, let's jump to the topic. So, what we're going to discuss today, we're going to discuss a little bit OB on EF Core. We do have, I think, focus session on EF Core, so you will learn more. I think on session that we have in our agenda. We'll have a look quickly on this Dapper as well. What is a comparison in the context of developers, right? That what are the things that developers really care about these A versus B, and what are the considerations you really kind of need to make on choosing either EF Core or Dapper, and tips to improve some performance. The EF Core performance, we'll discuss some of them. Any time permits, of course, we can have some Q&A as well. In the process of comparing, I'll show you some snips as well, and so that you understand, and some can say benchmarking when we talk about comparison. So it's not just theoretical comparison, but a little bit on a how it looks like in reality as well. These are some other items that we are going to discuss. So let's start with first one. So EF Core. Okay, EF Core entity framework. By the way, EF, or in short, like EFT framework in short, we say EF is not a new thing, right? It's like, I think it's there from maybe decades and a half, right? It's not a new thing. Came very early. So, but what is EF Core then? So, folks who followed .NET Core journey, now we are in 5. So, I think 1 came, 2 came, then I think 3 came, and then they did not have 4. They directly jumped to 5. So, folks who followed closely .NET Core journey in the last 3-4 years, so they might be knowing that Microsoft released basically, they call it .NET Core, they call it EF Core, and also they call it SV.NET Core. So there are 3, you can say, core families, coming. Basically, they're kind of grooming, or you can say improving or version by versions parallelly. So with that, I think if you recall the prior to EF Core days, I think it went. I think .NET 4.5 or something was there. I think now it's 0.7 if not wrong. .NET framework I'm talking about, and in parallel we had Inti framework, we call it. I think the latest came in 2013. It was EF7, I guess. EF6, sorry, EF6 was the latest. There was no core there. So the EF7 actually, when it started, instead of making EF7 never released. It not had a day of the life. But what happened that during that time, this discussion of .NET Core started, right? If you recall, you also might recall that there was talk of ASP.NET 5. That again never came actually in reality. It got renamed as a .NET like ASP.NET Core 1.0. So like that, EF 7.0 renamed as a EF Core 1.1. So like that, this renaming, and people who closely follow the Microsoft naming conventions, they might relate to how that works. So this is a little history on this EF Core, and now we are in EF Core 5.0. We'll talk quickly in a short while that why Microsoft still calls EF Core 5.0 and not EF 5.0. That we'll talk, but let's look into a little bit more on that. So as we know, or most of us know, maybe knowing that it's a full-fledged ORM tool, and thanks to this core thing that is open source due to this core philosophy that we have from Microsoft. It is an additional layer on top of AD.NET, right? It gives you a lot of flexibility, but it comes with a cost, and we'll discuss a little bit in a while as well how this translates into the reality, right? So it's always there is a trade-off between flexibility versus performance. It's not just limited to EF; it could be anywhere in basically development platforms, right? If you make your websites too thick, it may look very fancy, but you may be it will be costing you in terms of performance, right? Instead, if there is a very simple HTML plain vanilla site, it will load very fast, but it may not look great. So there is always a fine balance one needs to make, that what makes more sense, and hence EF-Core is not different, right? So here the thought is that you get a lot of features, including a nice feature called change tracking. It's tracking the changes that you made on the schema on different objects. It comes with, in case you try to understand a little bit behind the scene how it goes. So DB context, right? That is implementation. It has two things essentially. It has repository patterns and also unit of work pattern, right? Folks who like me who kind of coded in this earlier days when we were writing everything ourselves, repository classes, unit of work implementation and things like that. Now it's like DB context is there. It already has the implementation, and behind out of the box it provides you change tracking features. But this feature is there, but is that really required all the time? Maybe, may not be, depends. So if it is really required, of course you should have it, but if not, you should switch off it. We'll talk more on that. What are different other tips and tricks that can help you make your query performance a little faster in case you're going with EF Core, right? So one other use case and why one should go for EF Core is it's easy to use, great for faster development, right? We'll talk about Dapper in a while, but at high level in Dapper you need to write query a lot yourself. If you're not that good on SQL query, either your team or yourself, then it's not the great choice. So we'll touch upon those points, but EF Core, to be specific, it is good. It will give you very good start, and it is great for like you want faster like turnaround time. It gives you many inbuilt feature behind, like out of the box, so you can save a lot of time on that. Despite all the tweaking, I think now we have this 5.0, but every version they keep kind of tweaking it. Uh, in some scenarios, still it is a bit slower than plain A.NET because it is a additional layer on top of AD.NET. But think about it, it's very common in general life as well. Like you keep adding layers, right? Layer will have its own cost. It will have its own overhead. The cost can be of network, cost can be of additional code, or anything. So it will give you flexibility, but it will also give you a little bit, or take away a little bit speed, right? So it's still in some scenario, if you compare with the plain A.NET, EF or even EF core will be a little slower in some cases. Some cases in regular scenario, it is so small that you will not be able to figure it out. So you may choose either based on your requirement, but in some cases when you are on a complex applications with very performance, you can say benchmarking on a query, and the performance requirement is kind of superseding everything else. Then on those cases, you even care about milliseconds and everything. So in that cases, you really need to make a hard choice whether you want flexibility or you want speed. As I said, latest releases 5.0. There are some minor version as well. For simplicity, I just removed them. And the latest version, if you go to Microsoft site, you will find it came in Jan 21, so it's like not too late. Good question. I think I just kind of did you can say a little bit like food for thought, but now let's quickly discuss why they did not make. If you guys again closely follow the Microsoft roadmaps or timelines on .NET, .NET 5 came in already on November, I guess, last year. 6 is, I think, going to plan on maybe November again this year. They removed the core, right? Why they're still keeping core in EF? Good question. Think about it, right? If you that relate what I just kind of brought in a few minutes back, that we already had EF 5.6 before core journey started. So people do not confuse themselves. They still understand the difference of Inti framework 5.0 and Inti framework core 5.0. So they're still retaining this core keyword. So that is the main reason. Okay. Yeah. Just give me a moment, guys.
Just leave my laptop ASAP at 2:30 because it's not logging in mobile.
Okay. Sorry for bit trouble. I'll quickly resume it again. Okay. Fine. So let's quickly resume. So I think I was talking about why they have, they means Microsoft here chose to still keep this core 5.0, and I hope that they will still carry with 6 as well, because we still had EF6 in the past. So to keep the little difference in the versioning, maybe from 7 you may just see that EF7, right? So that is the reason. Let's quickly jump to the Dapper now. What is Dapper? So Dapper is basically again open source like EF Core, but it is not a full-fledged ORM. Rather, it's a micro ORM, they call it. It's pretty small. It is designed to initially that it will be as a mapper. It will help you to map DB results, database results, right? That comes from execution of the query into a C# object. If it is one, it's like in a generic way. Generics way rather, if you call it C#, right? So it's like integer, they will give you maybe some integer, right? If it is suppose list of some employee or whatever, so list of basically